Good morning, awesome Sterling students. Welcome to day 6 of your Genius Hour project, or if you want to think about it from the other side, day 4 to wrapping your project up. Mr. Bailey here with your daily video on demand. Today we are going to be looking at the two critical components of your work, and that is science and math being brought into your project as best you can. So I'm going to show you a couple of things to help do that. We're going to start with the science. One of the things that I had put in my graphic organizer for my example as I was thinking about helping my local food bank was this idea of why it's important that people get healthy, nutritious food regardless of their socioeconomic status. Why does everybody need access to good health and nutritional food? So one of my questions that I wanted to ask in my science research was what happens to the human body when it doesn't get enough nutrition? Well, I didn't know that off the top of my head, so I needed to go find it. So I Googled in a question like this, and I found this site from the National Council on Aging. The first thing I want to think about, though, is do I trust the information that I'm seeing from this National Council on Aging? So one of the things you'll notice that I've put in to today's Google Classroom assignment is this resource called the Website Validation Checklist. Miss Wilson, one of our digital learning leaders, shared this with me, and it's got 5 or 6 things to look at when you get to a website as you're thinking about your research. So step 1 is the one that I looked at here for the National Council on Aging, which is to look at the URL, the web address. Does it end in .gov, .edu, .com, or .org? Domains that end in these are often valid sites. If you end up with something that's kind of not one of those, I would be a little more careful about the information I'm receiving there and perhaps even go to try to find a different site. So if I skip back over here, I can see that up here in the corner, I am dealing with ncoa.org, which is good, which means they're an organization. The other thing that I did before I read this is I scrolled to the bottom. The bottom of websites provide a lot of information as well. I can see where they're registered, that they have a physical address and a phone number, which is usually a very good sign. And I also see that they've put some badges and certificates that they've earned for being a top rated charity, which also makes me trust the information they're providing a little bit more than if it was just kind of a basic website with not a lot. So now I'm able to come in here and take some notes. So what I can see is the thing that I like about this site is it breaks it down into categories. So it talks about malnutrition to muscles and bones. Then it talks about the immune system and healing. And then it talks about internal organs. So I like the fact that it gives me some pretty quick ways to sort through the information. So I'm not necessarily going to direct quote this because it's not my research. It's the research from the National Council of Aging. So what I might do is have a pen and paper next to me. I might use Google Read and Write, or I might highlight some. I could certainly highlight these, and I could copy and paste these into my presentation. And I'm going to do that here. But then when I look at what they say about mobility issues from malnutrition, I'm going to need to put this text in my own words. I can't just copy and paste that. So I'm happy to go ahead and copy and paste these bold headings because those are pretty traditional headings. But I'm going to need to take the sentence after and put those into my own words. And you can see there's a lot of things that happen to the human body when it does not get the nutrition it needs. And so I need to think about my layout now in my slideshow, and I may need to add more than one slide. It might be 3 slides. I might make a slide specifically for muscles and bones, and then another slide for immune system and healing, and then another slide to talk about the organs. Some of these might be these steps to prevent malnutrition might be something I include later in my call to action, or when I'm talking about the specific types of foods that my local food bank might need. So there's the 2 parts that I would consider for the science. So I'm going to talk specifically about impacts on the human body, which answers kind of this mini driving question or this science specific question that I want to answer in my project. which is what happens to the human body when it doesn't get enough nutrition. Please use this website validation checklist to go through and make sure that you're using trusted sources. Obviously, if it's something that your Sterling teachers have provided you, we've gone through and looked at kind of the credentialing of the website on your behalf. But if you're straight up Googling and using sites, you should be looking at this checklist and kind of just making your best judgment. Certainly ask people in your house too for some support if you're a little questionable. There's a ton of information on the internet. So if you get to a site and you don't necessarily trust what you're seeing, just pick another site. So if there's any doubt, just move on and go to a different one. But this website checklist is a great way to just do a quick 5-6 step look over of a website. Make sure that the information you're getting is trusted, unbiased, and accurate, because that's the most important part when you're doing your research. So those are the things that I would suggest for the science part. Find a good science trustworthy website and start building that in here, making sure that you can take some scientific headings, but any scientific research that you look at, you need to put in your own words. So let's move on to the math part, which is down here for me on slide 8. One of the things I did is I went to the Vermont Food Bank. I know that this is a trusted site. You'll notice it ends in .org again. It's got all sorts of information and credentialing down at the bottom. There's a physical address, there's a phone number, there's an email. So I know that this is pretty good. It's a website I've used, so I've certainly trusted it. And I'm going to use this information here in the donate section. It says, make an impact on the lives of your neighbors who are hungry. Every $3 helps provide 5 meals. Well, I want to kind of explain how important that is to people in my presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a graph, and that's going to be my math impact. So I've created a Google Sheet over here that's called my food bank graph. I need to go ahead and I need to label the top. So I'm going to say donation amount. And then over here, I'm going to say meals provided. And I'm going to take the information and I'm going to resize this just because I'm picky that way. But I know that a $3 donation provides 5 meals. And then I want to show people the impact of scaling that up. So if I'm doing like an online fundraiser, if I'm going to be asking people for money, this is going to be a great way to show them visually the impact that their money is going to provide. So I'm going to put in that if I was able to raise $6, I could provide 10 meals because I doubled everything. 3 times 2 is 6, so 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, then I might say, well, what if I was able to raise $30? Well, that's a times 10, so that would be 50 meals. If I could provide, if I could raise $60, I'd be able to provide 100 meals. And then I might even go so much as to say, if I wanted to get really ambitious and raise $300, that's a times 100. I could provide 500 meals. So even just putting out these couple of data points, and I could make certainly different other ones if I wanted to, I'm going to be able to show some strong visuals of what my driving question, what my call to action is going to do. It's going to show what an impact I can make because I want to make a dent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my data, and then I can go to insert up here. But the other thing too is I can always look for the visual over here that says insert chart. I'm going to let Google kind of analyze my data, which is what it's doing now, hopefully. And here it is. So I've got this really cool visual graph for people that talks specifically about the number of meals versus how much. So you might want to adjust some of the things down at the bottom. You can see mine goes from 0 to 50. And you might want to make those smaller, and you can certainly do that over here in the setup and the customization. Remember, from doing your math work, you can change colors, you can change font sizes, all that sort of stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to click on the 3 dots, and I'm going to copy the chart. And then I'm going to come back here into my Genius Hour, and I am going to paste, only editors can update the chart. I think I'm going to paste it unlinked. And then I can resize it. Now, obviously, the other thing I'm going to have to add in here, either through me talking during my presentation or through the Google Sheet itself, is I'm going to have to explain what, I got to tell people what they're looking at here. So you might come over and put something in the text field talking about, how every $3 supports 5 meals, and your goal is going to be to raise whatever, $30, $60, $300. So you're going to explain that. But you can see now in my presentation, I'm going to have some really great specific science evidence from a trusted website. I've also gone in and built a very simple, easy to use spreadsheet and a chart to really create some visual understanding of the math involved in part of my research. Those are the two big items I would really tackle today. Just focus specifically on that subset of scientific information in creating your math research. You could create a data table. So you could certainly have built something that just shows $3, 5 meals, $6, 10 meals. I wanted to create a graph. I think graphs are a little bit more visually engaging than a data table. But you could certainly have built just something like this in, you could certainly have built something with this information in your Google slideshow by itself and have that been totally fine as well. But those are the things I'm going to be asking folks to work on today. Mr. Willis and Mrs. Durant are running office hours. So what a perfect day to focus on science and math with your science and math gurus, 12:30 to 1:30. Reach out with any questions. Please use this website validation checklist as you do your work today. Have an amazing day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. All the best.